and we'll be presenting today our term project on our productivity improvement study. For this particular project, we've taken the work of concrete placing. So beginning with the project and the observations that we did, the table of contents for today's presentation are the concept, the executive summary, the area of study, current conditions and method of study, proposed improvements, and the implementation plans that our team has proposed, with the costs that will be inflicted by implementing these proposals. In the end, we'll just give you a conclusion by what we deduce. Moving on to the concept, we realize that productivity in construction is the main factor to determine the total cost of the project and the total time that will be taken by the project. Since it determines the efficiency of the working crew, it is a very important key factor. The objective of this study or of the entire term project is to analyze an activity in construction, define its productivity level, and find out certain areas in which an improvement can be done so that the productivity increases.
For a project's executive summary, we are focusing on the concrete process. Concrete is usually a critical activity and whole of the construction process depends on it. The time and the effort that we put into concreting is huge, as a result of which our team decided to do analysis on concrete works. The videos were captured on site with permission of the crew, and as well as one of our professors gave us the permission for this. Our team analyzed the process and created a crew balance chart of the same and worked out the cycle times. A lot of equipment such as the concrete pumps and concrete trucks were used during the process, and we tried to balance all of these to calculate the productivity of each of the member of the crew.
The site which we are going to study is located in Champaign, Illinois. The activity which we are considering is concreting. As you all know that concreting is one of the major portion of any project because it has a huge impact on the time and cost of any project. Therefore, we propose 3 ideas to improve the productivity of concreting, which would lead to higher profit, less time, and lower expenses. The placement of concrete activity requires worker to be detailed, oriented, and patient. Activities for concrete pouring, site clearance and leveling, concrete forming and accessories, concrete reinforcing, concrete transportation from mixer to the area, concrete pouring, screeding, elimination of rough edges, and final touch creation.
The start of our observation process for the term project coincided with the concrete pouring and finishing on the construction site. So when we started the investigation, reinforcement bars for slab and grade had been already placed. Therefore, the focus and structure of analyzing the process was mainly concrete-based. Throughout our observation, there have been no contingencies of any kind, and the weather was within normal conditions. No external obstructions. Our team noticed that pouring and finishing concrete crews were overloaded. By that, we mean that too many people working on the identical work, which caused congestion that lead to idleness and low productivity, which indicated in our flow and process chart. Also, when working on observation of the crews, we noticed that the crews were using chute for pouring the concrete, and cement finishers were using basic tools like edger, groover, trowel, and concrete placement track, rack, and rail. Moreover, on the construction site, formwork type was identified as lumber type instead of steel or aluminum analogous. In addition, no major safety violations have been noticed by our team. So for method of study, our team decided to observe construction site in Champaign rather than using construction camera. It gave us more insight to the construction atmosphere, which provided us more experience and knowledge of what construction site really is and how to implement contemporary methods of analyzing productivity of the crews. The actual method of our observation is site visit and the video recording, through which we could analyze the goals we have been assigned for the project. We decided to stick with average of multiple cycles, which was introduced to us in the lecture. The method of study consists of performing flow and process chart diagrams.
Just hit that mark.
This is a clip that we took from the raw video that was captured on the site. Before getting into what is happening on the site, the site was on White and 5th in Champaign, and as we can see, there are around 7-8 people in the frame right now. However, the crew was much bigger than this. Also, we can see that right now the formwork has been placed, the rebars have been already placed before the concreting work has started, which is right now going on. This guy we can see is pouring the concrete, while this guy are doing the work of screeding. During this whole process, we can see that there is also finishing of concrete on this end going on, which says that all these three things go in perfect harmony with each other. Since this guy is overlooking the work that is going on, so we are assuming that he's the foreman that is taking care of the work. Also, as we can see that on one end where a person is continuously pouring concrete, screeding and finishing of concrete are going hand in hand, but starting from one side. Now, what we also observed during the capturing of the video was that safety measures were properly maintained. There was no violation of safety from the OSHA rules and regulations that have been mentioned in class once or twice. Also, in the whole the video that we captured, we saw that things had been previously completed and that concreting was going at an effective rate, so that there was less wastage of concrete due to either hardening or the inability of the crew. Thereby the crew was working in an effective manner, but even though we found certain flaws that we proposed changes for, and thereby we saw how this guy here, for example, we can see is taking care of the concreting work here, while the other guy comes in and screeds the area. Thus, this is how the entire concreting work for the entire site was being done, and this is what we recorded, this is what we analyzed and proposed our proposals. Thank you.
Based on the observations and on the site, the working of the crew, we have generated the crew balance chart, and this is like we have observed a concrete pourer, then 3 shovelmen, then 2 finishing workers, 1 edger and 1 floater. So now, as we can see, the green marks indicate that the worker is working. Red indicates like the workers are waiting for the concrete truck to come and adjust, like from the concrete ready mix truck, the concrete will be poured to conveyor feeder, from where it will be pumped to the site. So we can see that our crew balance consists many red blocks, which indicates like there is no proper coordination among the concrete trucks arriving on the site and on the concrete placing. Now I'll explain when the concrete trucks arrive on the site, what is the flow chart of the crew. Okay, so as soon as the concrete truck arrives on the site, first of all the workers will check for the workability, like is there a desired workability for the concrete. Then after checking this, the concrete will be poured from ready mix truck to the pump truck. From the pump truck, the concrete will be pumped to the site on the slab. And when the concrete is placed on the slab, the workers will start working on the screeding process. Then there will be finishing work. Then there will be bull floating, and again they will be waiting for the next truck to come.
Our first proposal to improve the flow of concrete process is to add another concrete truck into the situation. As presented in our process chart and flow diagrams of the current working methods, the workers are idle for a decent amount of time since there's no concrete on the site for them to work with. Instead, they're standing around waiting for the next truck to arrive. In order to avoid this idle time, we'll schedule a concrete truck to arrive on site at minutes 10, 27, and 43. We want the trucks to arrive at these specific times so there are shovelers always working with the concrete. In order to maximize the efficiency and productivity, we want to avoid having multiple concrete trucks arriving on site simultaneously, because this will cause too much congestion on the already busy working area. The original observation had 22.3 minutes per cycle with 103.67 productive man minutes per cycle out of a total of 201 total man minutes per cycle, which provides a 51.6 productivity rating. This proposal gives us a 16-minute cycle with 114 productive man minutes out of 148 total man minutes, giving us a productivity rating of 76.8%. Assuming an 8-hour day and $37.50 an hour, it is almost identical in terms of labor cost. The original cycle has a labor cost of $2,700 per day, while the improvement only costs $27.84 per day. However, we can get in 30 cycles compared to the original 21 cycles per day. This gives us 9 more cycles per day at approximately the same cost per day, proving this is definitely a beneficial option for us to implement.
Our second proposal to improve the job site would be to remove one shoveler from the labor force. This would decrease overall congestion on the site, which is currently costing productivity. Decreasing the labor cost would also be a plus, as removing one laborer from the site, when paid $37.50 per hour for an 8-hour day, would save us $300 a day, or $1,950 per week, assuming a 6-hour work week with overtime paid on the weekends. The cycle time would stay at 22.3 minutes, but the productivity would increase from 51.6% to 53.73%, as the congestion would be decreased, which would allow workers to be more productive. This slight increase in productivity would be worth it because the labor cost would decrease such a significant amount.
Our final proposal is to incorporate a labor foreman instead of the general foreman that is on our current construction crew. As seen in the videos of the crew working on the concrete, the foreman is for the most part just observing and ensuring the process is running smoothly. However, these responsibilities can be assigned to a laborer, which will cut the costs of having a general foreman and increasing the cost of one of the general laborers. A laborer foreman has an hourly wage of $39.60 instead of the $37.50 of a regular laborer, according to the RS means. This would only increase our cost by $16.80 per day for the laborer price bump. This still complies with union rules of having a foreman on site, since the laborer is now going to be a laborer foreman. By removing the general foreman from the crew, we would cut $39.60 per hour, or $316.80 per day. By removing the general foreman and giving his responsibilities to a laborer, we would save $300 per day.
After conducting the study in productivity improvement of concreting, we have noticed that some of the proposals may mean an increase in the cost of the first time, but later we can notice an improvement in performance of manpower and increase in productivity rating. The original productivity is 51.6% in 22.3 minutes per cycle, with a cost of $2,700. With the first proposal, we have an increase from 51 to 76.8% in 16 minutes per cycle. The second proposal, we have from 51 to 53.73%, using the same minute per cycle, but we have reduced the cost to $2,400. As the third proposal that we mentioned, it will save $300 per day.